Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Supervisors meeting on October 15th, 2013. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Supervisor De La Cruz?
Thank you, Chair. Ready? Salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for a certificate of posting?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. At this time, we have a presentation and recognitions. And Supervisor Munzer, you have one for us this morning?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make the motion to approve this proclamation for the centennial year of California 4-H.
Second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
If the representatives from 4-H would like to... I'd just like to say that I'm very proud to have been associated with 4-H as a youth leader, and to have all four of my children go through the program. And I think it's a great honor that we are honoring California 4-H in their centennial year. I'd like to skip all the whereases and just read the final now therefore. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of the San Benito County do hereby proclaim 2013 as a centennial year of California 4-H Youth Development Program in San Benito County, and encourage everyone to join us in celebrating the 4-H Youth Development Program that has and will continue to uniquely prepare young people to step out to the challenges of a complex and rapidly changing world for the next 100 years. Congratulations.
I'm Delaney Gross, and I am a 2013-2014 All-Star. I'm from Assignments 4-H. I have been in 4-H for 6 years now, and I would like to introduce the rest of my helpers.
Hi, I'm Jessica Bless. I'm a member of Fairview 4-H. I've been in 4-H for 7 years, and I'm 12.
Hi, I'm Christina Bless. I am 14 years old and a member of Fairview 4-H for 7 years.
Hi, I'm Andrew Little, and I'm in the Fairview 4-H, and I've been in 4-H for 5 years, and I'm 12 years old.
Hi, I'm Heather Pereira. I was last year's 2012-2013 County All-Star, and I am 17. I have been in 4-H for 13 years. This has meant a lot to our County 4-H and all of our California 4-H. We also celebrated this at our Elcourt last year. We had a huge poster made, and all of the attendees that went to Elcourt had signed the poster, and I'm not sure how many attended, but the poster was over full, and we had to write really small, and it has been around the state and gone to our SLC also.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming this morning. 4-H is one of our better youth programs in the state, and congratulations. We'll move on to public comment, and this is a time for items that are not on today's agenda. If the public would like to comment on any issues that is of concern.
Paul Wattis.
Good morning. I'm Paul Wattis from Piscinas, California. Last Saturday night we had a poaching incident about 6:30 in the evening on our ranch. We managed to collar the guy, one of them, there were two. We called the sheriff's department, and they responded, but they'd only had 2 people on patrol and couldn't send anybody. We held this one guy for an hour and a half or 2 hours, close to, till Fish and Game finally came and took him away. The other guy that dropped him off escaped. We had a good license number, which turned out not to be good, and a vehicle description. Had there been a sheriff available to respond, we probably would have collared the other guy. As it was, we held the one guy. We didn't know whether this other guy was coming back or not to rescue his buddy. It turned out he just abandoned him. But this is a dangerous, dangerous situation. And we down in South County pay a lot of taxes, and we deserve some service for what we pay. The Sheriff's Department has been robbed of budget money for spending it on other things that I don't think are necessary. You don't need parks. You don't need some of these other things that you're spending money on. We should have public safety out in South County. Now, I realize the sheriff can't be there 24/7, but he sure as hell ought to have more than 2 deputies on duty at one time to respond to incidents like this. Suppose this had been a serious case of a rape or a robbery or a murder or something. Sure, they would have dropped what they were doing to come to that one, but we feel what we called for is just as equally important. I beg you to reconsider some of your budget priorities and give the Sheriff's Department some more money so we can hire some more help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wattis. Ordinarily, I don't do this, but under the circumstances, it is a very serious situation that Mr. Wattis experienced on Friday. It's dangerous for all the property owners out there in South County as well as countywide with the level of sheriff staffing we have at times. And so I would like to ask the Sheriff Thompson to maybe if he would like to comment and at this point in time to those staffing levels or concerns that Mr. Wattis expressed just now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for an opportunity to respond to that. Thank you, Mr. Wattis, for your support of the Sheriff's Office and of the county. I don't have anything prepared to say, but I would like to communicate a few things to you. This board made some very difficult decisions facing a very difficult financial time, and those decisions resulted in massive layoffs at the Sheriff's Office. We have less than 50% of the deputies in service today than we had 3 years ago. Having said that, we are recruiting. We have a couple of openings that the board has authorized us to fill that are vacancies. They're not increases to our staffing allotment. But I would encourage the board as we head toward the mid-year budget review, if there's any possibility whatsoever, it'd be great to increase our funding by enough to support some of the people that live in the southern part of our county. Most of you are aware that our county is approximately 1,400 square miles. We're approximately 20 miles wide and 70 miles long. 99%, well, at least 95% of the people live in the northern 400 square miles. That southern 1,000 square miles of property is not as densely populated, and their calls for service are few and far between. However, their needs are different than the northern county needs, and they experience things that are important to them that have a significant impact on their business and their personal safety. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to give them the time and attention and the coverage that they're deserving of having. It'd be very valuable to the health of this community in a number of ways if we could increase our staffing by enough to have some coverage down in South County. Again, as you head into the mid-year budget review, I would ask you to take a very close look at that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Thompson.
Denise Quintana. Good morning, honorable supervisors and members of the public. My name is Denise Quintana, and I work at Child Support Services, and I am the Vice President of the SEIU 521 chapter. I am here today to speak on behalf of our bargaining team, which has been negotiating in good faith while the county seeks to impose severe and unnecessary cuts that would force workers into further financial crisis. For years, SEIU 521 members have been county management's target of choice to balance your budget. We have gone without wage increases for more than 3 years, while confidential management, department heads, mid-management, and unrepresented employees in the county of San Benito have received increases to their wages, according to information reported by this county to the State of California Controller. From 2010 to 2011 alone, those increases went up over $282,000. After taking wage reductions in previous years. Besides us frontline workers, it appears not even this Board of Supervisors saw a wage increase in 2011, while you apparently approve increases for county management positions. Your management team has provided a last, best, and final offer, which our members rejected unanimously on October 8th. We understand there is a budget crisis, and we are willing to do our part once again to help the county balance its budget, but we ask this board be responsible. Do not balance the entire deficit on the backs of frontline workers. We are ready to strike if we must, but we do not want to continue harming the services our community relies upon, and we would like to continue bargaining if your team comes with realistic solutions. We must fix our broken system by ensuring that we hire the most qualified staff for positions that are crucial to the financial stability of our county. We cannot downgrade qualifications of a position to meet the needs of the moment, but rather focus on the long-term sustainability of this county, its fiscal responsibility to the employees and the residents of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for stepping to the podium and making your comments and statements. I want to thank the employees for showing this up this morning. Ordinarily, we would have to wait till, the closed session item right beforehand to hear this, since it is on our agenda in closed session. But I thought it was important to hear you now. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Wendy Solorio.
Good morning. I am Wendy Solorio. I'm an employee of the County of San Benito as well, and I do work at Child Support Services as a child support specialist too. I'm here to put a more personal spin on the way that this community and this county and the members of SEIU and all county employees are being affected by the budget, by the bargaining, your bargaining units management team has proposed to SEIU. We live here. I live here. I pay taxes here. I was born and raised here. I work very hard to support my family. I am not the problem. I am not the enemy. We will not be the county's bank any longer. We will not allow the county to continue to balance their budget off of our backs. I volunteer here. I donate here. I donate to 4-H. I donate to Boy Scouts. I donate to Girl Scouts. And I am a member of various community organizations such as the Spring Grove PTO. I am begging you at this point to please order your management team to come back to our table and negotiate a fair contract for the workers of this community, the workers that work the front line, the workers that issue the child support payments to the various families in this community. It's essential now that we work together. We are not your enemy. We want to work together.
Thank you.
Hello, board and public. I'm going to actually give you maybe a little bit different view. I don't live in Hollister. I don't even live in this county. I live over the hill in Merced County. I used to work for the child support department there and transferred here with one goal and one dream, to get my family out of the valley. I saw a job opportunity here and I took it, knowing that in the long run, I'd be able to make enough to support my family and eventually get us into a better situation, into a better living community, hopefully here in Hollister, San Juan Bautista, or somewhere in the general area. The cuts that are being proposed right now would not only put that in jeopardy, but it would eliminate that dream entirely. On top of that, it would probably eliminate my employment here. Having to drive 100 miles round trip is obviously an expense. Having to lose what I would lose as being proposed right now would mean that I'd basically be working for health insurance for my family and gas money to get to work. That would leave zero money left over to buy food, pay my rent, or do anything else. My goal is to come in to a better community. I see Hollister, I see San Benito as an ideal place to raise a family, much better than where I am at now. I left Merced County for a situation similar to this, where we could not make a living wage. Things are dire over there. I've seen it happen. The proposal is only going to make it happen here. I see a lot of different things going on that I've seen before in other places, and it is really frightening. My request for you is very simple. Come back with something realistic. On my current salary now, I qualify for food stamps, Medi-Cal, and I'm only maybe about $100 over qualifying for even welfare monetarily. If that is what you consider a living wage, then by all means go forward. But when you are considering that these are the people that work for you, work for this county, something that only puts them in a worse situation to where then, fine, you may be saving money on your salary checks, but you're going to force a lot of families to turn around and take that in the back end through other services. Please consider what you are looking at and what you are doing and what this bargaining team is proposing. Because if they cut the way they say they want to, it's only going to cost you a lot more in the back end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Felicitas Corona.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm choked. I had a very nice speech, but they said it for me. The only thing I can say now is I respectfully urge you to negotiate our wage increase. I don't know how, but we need it. Talking about donation, I donate a lot of money. No, I donate a lot of time. It's all right. I have it. I don't have sick pay. It's okay. I work long hours. I already said that. A wage increase. I don't know how you're going to do it. I need it. I thank you.
Thank you.
Joan Miranda.
Good morning. My name is Joan Miranda, and I'm an Eligibility Worker 3 at the Health and Human Service Agency here in San Benito County, and I'm also an officer of SEIU, the local chapter. I'm here today to talk to you about the effects that your proposed cuts at the bargaining table have had or will have on our valuable services. We provide to the community on a daily basis, not our management staff, that help our families in this community when they are most vulnerable and are dealing in dire straits, whether it be with income or child care or health care needs. They come see us. We are vital also to the children of this community when they visit our libraries and our health facilities. They need to be happy and healthy as they are the future of this community. With the high turnover rate and the long hiring process, we struggle each day in each of our departments, working with the skeleton crews that you've left us with. I don't blame those who have left or who are planning to leave to our neighboring communities, as they are offering competitive wages, affordable health care, and that this shows that they value their employees and the communities that they serve. In our behavioral health and public health departments, we have a consistent revolving door. While qualified staff leaves to either retirement or go into their private practices, they're leaving these positions open that we need desperately. If we continue down this path, our community will be at risk. We as San Benito County workers, most of us live here, we pay taxes here, but most of us can't afford to spend our money here, and we're forced to go to neighboring counties to do things like purchase food. This has been repeated several times today, that we will not allow the county to budget on the backs of our employees. So again, we plead that you instruct your staff to return to the negotiating table at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia Cardenas.
Good morning. My name is Alicia Cardenas, and I'm a child support supervisor here in Hollister for the county. And I've actually worked for this county for about 12 years, and I've supervised for over 6. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the things that I've been seeing with our staff and some of the effects that could have on our community. As you know, child support is one of the non-general funded offices, and we contribute back into the general fund. We help families get off and stay off of cash aid and welfare, other assistance, and that sort of thing. And by bringing money back to the general fund, we feel that we can positively impact this community. We do a lot of outreach. We go to the jail, juvenile hall, HHSA. We do so many things at the continuation school where we educate the students that are seniors about what kind of impact it could have on a family budget if you have to pay child support, and making wise choices. So we do a lot of things for this community and with this community, and we bring some money back. And just wanted you to know that we're losing some of our staff because we can't hold on to people when we're paying them so little and they can't afford the benefits. If our staff can qualify for Medi-Cal and food stamps themselves, how are we going to keep them high enough and happy enough to stay here working in our community in order to provide these services and to continue to bring back into the general fund? I'm seeing, out of 18 full-time employees, 7 have other jobs. They work second jobs, and now a few of them are out on looking for third jobs. It's heartbreaking as a supervisor to see staff looking for other jobs. They've been putting me on notice that they have interviews coming up or are seeking out other employment opportunities, and I don't want to lose them. They're the ones that are bringing the money back to the community, and it's a lot of money. You should check it out on your spreadsheets. Another thing is, as much as we understand you have a job to do and you have to balance this budget, there are 2 ways to do that, because that's what we're being charged with. One is at the beginning, you sit down and you look at your calculator and your spreadsheet and you find ways to save, and that's been done year after year after year. But the second way is what our employees are now having to do, and that is to go out and find other ways of making money. We're doing that. We have second jobs, some are getting third jobs. So what about the portion that the county can do? Going out and looking for revenue streams, looking at the contracts that they're already in. What about the money that they can bring back? Because You can only stretch a rubber band so far, and as resilient as it can be, at some point it's going to snap, and when it does, it hurts. So please understand what this is doing to your community, not just to the employees that work for the community, but for the community that these employees serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to make comments to the Board of Supervisors at this time? Please step forward.
I want to comment on sheriffs.
Okay.
Good morning, Marty Richmond from Hollister. I wanted to comment on the earlier comments concerning South County Sheriff's coverage. I've brought this up on several occasions, and I find myself agreeing. I think the sheriff stepped out, and I'm glad, because I don't want to be caught complimenting any elected official in public. You know, the sheriff, I've sat here through a couple of sheriffs and watched this, you know, operation come and go. Can I suspend for a moment? Everybody leaves. Didn't mean to chase everybody away. You know, the sheriff has been extraordinarily professional about this in public. I don't know what happens behind closed doors, because I don't go to closed-door meetings. But, you know, Sheriff Thompson, who I have to say in advance so people know I supported for the job, Sheriff Thompson has not come up here and cried every time. I think he's gotten a cut. He's been very professional about it. He's always handled it in public in a professional manner, explained what the consequences would be. He hasn't come up here and made, you know, histrionics about how his entire department was going to fold up if he didn't get any more help or anything. So I want to compliment Sheriff Thompson for, as an elected official, for being a stand-up member of this community and doing that. But I don't live in the county. I live in the city. But I have long been concerned, and you know I've discussed this during the fire coverage and other coverage, about the emergency coverage in the county. The fact that the Sheriff's Operations and Patrol, which is a separate department under Sheriff, is very lightly staffed. We understand what the issue is with all the mileage and the square miles and how long it'll take, but I've long been concerned that we do not have a station in South County because there's a lot of crime moves to rural areas. When the urban areas crack down on crime, the criminals move to urban areas, suburban areas, and into the countryside. We all know that. And so there's a lot of illegal drug trafficking goes on where people can't see it. And it's really important we do something. And when we do it, I hope we can use some imagination to move forward so that we get some double or triple trained people. I understand it'll cost us a few bucks more, but I would like to see some people who are sheriffs and also EMT qualified with a permanent station down in South County. So if there's an emergency, they're not always 2 hours away or an hour and 45 minutes away, that they can get that initial help for the first, now we'll wrap up, initial help for the first 45 minutes to make sure someone stays alive. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else would like to address the board? If not, we'll move on to department head announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we'd like to go ahead and remove or pull item number 6 off the consent agenda. We'd like to continue that for another day. This is out of our Health and Human Services Department. Item number, the second item I have is we are going to be having a special board meeting October the 22nd. This will be discussing the Farm Labor Association and the Homeless Coalition contract, as well as a letter to the state that we'll be sending off. So please mark your calendars for that. Maria Corona, are you in the audience? Can you step up to the podium, please? I'd like to publicly thank Maria and recognize her. She's been our interim Health and Human Services Director for almost a year and a half, since May of 2012. During that time, she has worked diligently, long hours. There's been a lot of change from the state. It's really been unprecedented from the Health and Human Services side of things from the state. We've had a lot of programs that she's been working on. And as well as mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of retirements and a lot of people moving to different places. So she's had a lot of work that she's had to do and deal with. So I want to publicly thank you and recognize you for all your hard work. Thank you very much, Maria. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for the opportunity of being able to serve as Interim Director for Health and Human Services Agency. It's been a challenging year, but I've embraced it. I've learned a lot. I want to thank you for your patience, for bearing with me. I was learning as I went along, but it was a great experience. And I was the captain of the ship for, over a year, but I would not have been able to do it without my sailors, which there are several of you here today. Health and Human Services Agency staff is wonderful. There's a lot of people there that are very committed to the job, and we would not, I would say we, the management team, because we're a team out there, would not have been able to do it without them. They're a great crew, and I thank you for your patience and for bearing with me. There's, I've worked in several programs at Health and Human Services Agency. I started as a vocational assistant. I was an eligibility worker. I've translated. I've done home visits, social work, supervising, everything. So I've been there, done a lot of that, and it's a challenging job, but it's also very rewarding because we're here to help the families and children and everybody in our community. So I thank everybody and thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to working with our new director, Jim, who's here today, and I'm sure he'll be introduced in a few minutes. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Supervisor Barrios.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. I know that you've had other challenges besides your work. I know that you've had family challenges that even in spite of that, you put in all those long hours. And so for that, we appreciate you very, very much. And I want to echo what our CAO has said and you to know that we appreciate you and your staff because it is a team effort. So
yes, thank you very much. I was also born and raised in Hollister, and I've been in Health and Human Services Agency for almost 25 years, and I plan to stay there as long as you'll have me there. Thank you.
Supervisor Munzer.
Maria, I just too want to thank you for your efforts this past year and all that you've done. I know we've worked together with United Way projects, 211, which will be coming fairly soon, and just the changes in the medical and the health issues that are coming down the pipe, and you've worked hard at that, and I just appreciate everything you've done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor De La Cruz.
Well, I'm trying to think of not trying to disclose Maria's and myself age because we actually go way back there, back in grammar school and high school, and that same attitude in high school is the same attitude you brought to the job. And the 10 o'clock calls you gave me at home for county business, Maria's, Jaime, did you know this? I need to keep you up to date, and I appreciate that, Maria. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Rivas.
Right. Well, there's not much more that I could add, but just thank you for your service. It is, it's a good thing for us that you'll be stepping down and probably be, I'm sure you're still going to be very busy, but from what you were doing to what you're going to do, I think is a huge thing for us, and it is, because you are such a valuable employee. And I think that because of the shortages we've had, your service is certainly going to be a big help. So thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you.
Before you leave, I have a comment, too. First off, I can't believe you went to high school with Supervisor De La Cruz. You got to be a heck of a lot younger than him.
That was a challenge in and of itself. I'm just kidding.
But, you know, all
We had some good times.
Thank you, Maria.
all kidding aside, you stepped up when we really needed you, and I think the whole board will be forever grateful for that. And you're not retiring, you're not quitting, you're still working very hard on our management team down there. And it's a very complex department with a lot of needs and a tremendous service to our community. And you've carried that ball so well, and you took it over the goal line for us, and we really appreciate you and always will. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I make a recommendation that our CAO present at a later date to Maria a certificate of recognition for the time that she served as interim director, and present it himself, and we will sign it and make sure that she receives that.
I think that would be very appropriate, and thank you, Maria, for everything you've done, and you did it very, very well. Very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I tried my best, and thank you very much. I loved the experience. It was a great experience. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, so leading into this, we're going to be inviting James Wrightingsword to the podium. James comes to our county. He is going to be our new Health and Human Services Director. He has well over 25 years of executive management experience in Health and Human Services. And I wanted to introduce the board as well as the public. Jim.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I just want to follow up on what you just heard. Probably one of the reasons I considered coming here is I started working with Maria about 18 months ago when she started showing up as your interim director at some of our state meetings. And you know, as we kind of worked with each other, I kind of thought, you know, this might be an interesting opportunity to be able to, you know, come and serve in San Benito County. My wife and I, this is a little advertisement. We're looking for property here. We'd like to move back over here. It's kind of like coming home to us. 19 years ago in November, we were married in San Juan Bautista, and so we're kind of coming back to where our life and our heart started. I've been meeting the staff. You have a really good staff. It's always interesting, you know, in this business, and I'm sure you could say it in lots of businesses, but people work in this business because they have a passion for it. And they have a passion for helping families and children and people in need. Many years ago, I was able to meet a gentleman by the name of Hubert Humphrey when he was running for president. If you don't remember Hubert, he was vice president. He was a senator from Minnesota. He was known as the Happy Warrior. In his last public speech that he gave, and I'm kind of paraphrase what he said a community is ultimately measured by how they deal with those in the dawn of life, the children, how they deal with those in the shadows of life, the sick, the disabled, and the needy, and how they deal with those in the twilight of life, the elderly. That's our job every day, not only as a department, but as a community. I had the opportunity to attend a luncheon here on September the 27th, and I listened to your community leaders, including the chair of your board, talk about this community and talk about how we can work together and how we can make things work for everybody in the community. And we're happy in the department to take that challenge and to be measured by the wisdom of Vice President Humphrey. And we're very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And It was good to see you on the 27th and make your acquaintance. And I want to wish you the best of luck and success in your new position. And it is be about partnerships, partnerships within your own department. It's a very complex and very large department. It's be partnerships in the community, and I think you're off to a good start. Supervisor Barrios.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to welcome you, and we value the wealth of experience that you bring to this county. So we appreciate you being here, and I want to wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Jim, I'm already hearing good things about you. Your staff is commenting about how they appreciate you having come before you even started, getting to know them and getting accustomed and acclimate to our community. And when I saw you at that luncheon, you shocked me by saying that you had already been watching our meetings every Tuesday.
Yes.
So I appreciate the wealth of knowledge that I'm sure you're going to bring to our community in this department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have another announcement coming out of our risk department, safety. This is going to, we are going to be taking part of the Great California Shakeout. Basically, there's going to be about 9.4 million Californians taking part of that, about 23 million worldwide, so our county is participating in the Great Shakeout. In essence, just bringing awareness to earthquakes, and that'll be this Thursday at 10:17 a.m. So the county is participating in that, just so you know.
Great, thank you.
Our next item, we have actually Steve Wittry. He's our Public Works Director. He has a department head announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I have actually two announcements today. The first one, I wanted to bring the board up to speed on what happened with the Tres Pinos water situation. As you were aware, Tres Pinos Water District, a week ago Monday on the 7th, notified the county public works that they had a failure at their main water well. They're actually their only water well, and they asked us for assistance. Basically, what we had done is we had worked with the Stonegate community, with their leaders over there for their HOA, the Tres Pinos Water District, and we were able to put in a temporary connection, and they're actually getting water from the brand new Stonegate well at Tuesday at 8 o'clock in the morning. So we worked very hard. I want to thank my staff and those who were involved to basically put that together so quickly. Basically within 24 hours they were getting backup water. As of Friday at 3 o'clock, we were able to terminate the connection because Tres Pinos Water District was able to come back online and have their water serving back to the public again. So just want to let the board know that there was that going on, and between the communication and coordination between Stonegate, their HOA, and the Tres Pinos Water District, we're able to protect the public health and safety for that community down and a little bit south of Hollister there. So I wanted to acknowledge and let you know that that was going on. The second thing I wanted to talk about just real briefly was we are right now, as to right this very moment, working with the city of Hollister. We are doing some work with our asphalt zipper on West Side Boulevard, another issue where we're trying to combine and partner with that agency. We are letting them, we're demoing it for them essentially to do some work on West Side. In exchange for that, we will be borrowing one of the pieces of equipment that will help us with some of our work on the side. So for this particular action we're doing for them, we're helping them out for their project. And then we will not be actually compensated for that. However, we will be getting services in kind from another piece of machine that we will utilize to help with our situation. So an example, once again, of how the agencies work together to try to minimize their capital costs, so they don't have to buy their own machines for these things, and we don't have to buy our own machines for these things, but we can work together to save the community some money for these actions. So I just want to let the board know those things.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the Public Works Director? Thank you, Steve. Anything else?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, we have one more department head announcement. We have Byron Turner. He's our interim planning director. He has a department announcement as well.
Thank you. I just want to let the public know and the board know that tomorrow night at the Planning Commission, we will be taking public comment on the environmental document for the Resource Recovery Park. It's an important project for the county, and the public's been very involved in it, and so I wanted to get the word out that tomorrow night at the Planning Commission, we'll be taking that public comment. No decisions will be made tomorrow night, but the public comment on the environmental document will be tomorrow, Planning Commission here at 6 p.m. So just wanted to make sure that anyone who was interested could come out and give their comments about the project.
Okay, thank you.
That's all our announcements.
All right,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you. Board announcements. Any Supervisor Rivas?
I don't have an announcement, but a request. If we, I know we heard a lot about when the sheriff had mentioned budget in a mid-year report, and I was actually, it's ironic that he mentioned that because my request today was to get a budget update, possibly in November, first or second meeting. I'd like to know where our where we stand in our finances from our adopted budget in July, and if we could get some type of idea about you know, where we go from here as far as some projections as far as revenues and what we can expect in the coming year, that would be great. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. CEO Espinosa.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. Yes, we have, we've had internal administrative meetings, and we're planning on giving you a quarterly report, so that was one of our items that we're going to bring in November. So.
Yeah, and we had that conversation as well, I think last week, or to bring the board up to date on a quarter report. Any other announcements from the board? Supervisor Barrios?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you so much. With our intergovernmental committee meeting, we have been very successful in continuing discussion of partnerships with the City of Hollister and other departments, primarily the fiber optic. I believe that we're moving forward in a very positive way that is going to provide services for our public agencies primarily, and for us as the City of Hollister, and so that is moving forward, like I said, in a very positive manner. The Pinnacles National Park is still big on our agenda. We are, our efforts to promote it are working well. We have a meeting planned for the near future. I don't have the date in front of me for the stakeholders, so that is being organized and presented by COG. So we appreciate that effort to work with us. So. And I just want to thank the well-wishers. I had shoulder replacement surgery last week. I'm doing really well, and I want to thank everybody for their calls and their well wishes. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Munzer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to congratulate the 33rd Ag District on a great and successful fair. My understanding that COG and San Benito Transit ran free shuttles out to the fair, and on Sunday or Saturday they had to put in service a second van to bring the people out to the fair. It was a successful endeavor and a great fair, and I just want to thank everyone that came and stopped by my booth and chatted and talked about the concerns they had about the county. Also, I want to thank the people and the homeowner association of Stonegate for their assistance in dealing with the Tres Pines Water District crisis. I found out when I was trying to come to town, and there was a PVC pipe going across Quinsabe Road that I come to town, and so I had to turn around, go back, find another way to town for about a week. But it was a great collaboration between the Water District and the homeowner association, and I just hope that we can continue that cooperation and come up with a permanent solution for these situations. At ANBAG last week, we had a presentation on an interesting project called the HERO program, and what it is a municipal financing options for energy efficiency and solar use. And as ANBAG learns more, I'll bring more of that information to this board. And it basically allows funding and financing to make both private homes, businesses, and municipality buildings more energy efficient and provide solar for them. So it sounds interesting, and I'll keep this board informed of it. And also, I too like to address the South County safety issues. At our last fire committee meeting, Chief O'Connor mentioned that Between the time the city took over the contract, which was approximately July 23rd, until the 1st of September, there was 4 incidents or call-outs for the area south of Piscinas. So that's 2 a month. And he mentioned that we average about 60 a year, which is 5 a month. So those instances are important, but we have to realize that there is not a lot of incidents down there, but we have to come up with a cost-efficient method of meeting those needs, be it a volunteer station, either in Tres Pinas again, like it used to be, or down in Piscinas, that can utilize volunteer staff to move out ahead of the engine that will be responding from Hollister, and would cut the first response time by a good 5 or 10 minutes. So we are looking at that. And as far as the sheriff's budget, even at budget time, I was a champion for trying to get him more money. I'm still championing that issue. I think we need to return money back to his budget, and not only for South County, but for all the county, for the law enforcement. And I just want to take this time that I'm very disappointed in the fact that the city did not choose to look at consolidation of law enforcement as we did with the consolidation of the fire. And so, but we'll go forward. We'll figure out how to backfill our sheriff's budget and get the personnel that he needs. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Munzer. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I have item 6 that's pulled by staff to be continued at a later date. Any other items by the board to be pulled?
Number 4, Mr. Chair.
Number 4. Any other items by the board? Any items from the public would like to be pulled from our consent? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the remainder of consent.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Supervisor Barrios on
Yeah.
number 4.
Yeah, they're minor, Mr. Chair, but I just want to make sure that they're done. On page number 39 of one of the agendas, we just need to change country to county to make sure that that is clear. And then page number 49, it's consent item number 1. And I just didn't have time to go and look at the date, but it's showing a date of approval of October 2012 through September 2013. I want to make sure that that shouldn't be 13 to 14 instead. So if it is wrong, I would like to have that corrected. Like I said, I didn't have a chance to, but I will have our clerk of the board look at it and make the change if necessary. So with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve it with the changes recommended.
Okay. And that's fine with the clerk, I assume? Okay, I have any comments from the public on item 4? Seeing none, I do have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We'll move on to the regular agenda. CEO Espinoza.
Let me present the item regarding the grand jury report. Previously, the Board of Supervisors considered the board's response to the grand jury report for all of the grand jury report numbers except numbers 8 and 9. Today, it's brought before the board for the Board of Supervisors reports to 8 and 9. Basically, the board has an obligation to respond under penal code to indicate whether you agree with the finding, disagree with the finding in whole or in part, and if so, if you do disagree with the findings, to state the basis for that disagreement, and also as far as recommendations to indicate whether they will be implemented and the timeline that they will be implemented by, whether they have been implemented already or whether they will not be implemented, and then the reasons why the board has chosen not to implement those recommendations. So the draft report is here for the Board of Supervisors, and if the Board of Supervisors approves of the responses that have been prepared for the board's consideration, then the board is asked to approve the responses and direct staff to submit the prepared responses to the presiding judge. They do need to be submitted by the end of this month.
Okay.
If the board has any questions regarding any of the proposed responses, I'm happy to address why.
Okay. Any questions by the board? Seeing none, any comments from the public on the grand jury responses? If not, we'll bring it back to the board for approval.
I will make a motion to approve per staff recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I'll wait till Supervisor De La Cruz if he wants to vote on this. Have a motion to approve the staff's responses and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
I read it, Mr. Chair.
Move on to the next item. I guess Ms. Thompson, you make a report.
Yes. At the last board meeting, the board introduced and waived reading of the ordinance, which is making changes to section 3.01.091. At today's date, it's brought back for the board's adoption. So I'd ask the board to consider this ordinance, and if it meets with the board's approval, to adopt the ordinance on today's date.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the public on this issue? I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to adopt ordinance number 920, amending subsection D of section 3.01.091 of chapter 3.01 of title 3 of the San Bernardino County Code.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
4 ayes, 1 no. We'll move on to the next item. CEO Espinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is item number 10 on our regular agenda, and this is going to be a discussion about First 5 San Benito, and Lisa Faulkner is going to be presenting information to your board. Thank you, Lisa.
Good morning. I appreciate your time and consideration of the issue that's on the agenda. I have the good pleasure to work with Margie, Supervisor Barrios, and have met with County Council on this issue. And more recently, I've met with Ray. We started, it's the 15-year anniversary of First 5. It was founded founded with a mission to strengthen families and make sure kids are healthy and also ready to go to school. The funds for these programs that focus on the 0 to 5 population and their family come from Prop 10. And so when people go and buy cigarettes at the store, that money goes to the state and then is diverted back to the county. So as people stopped smoking, the revenue started to decline. So which is a good thing. And in 2008, I was introduced to First 5 as a fund developer. So the commission had contracted with me to look at ways to make up that deficit in funding. And so it's a great organization to bring outside funding because you have a sustainable funding stream. So with my background in grant seeking, it's really hard to let that money pass through and not to match it. So the idea here is to get an organization up on its feet that can really go after some money and build that platform. So looking into different opportunities for the organization, we've been successful in maintaining the current funding at the level by seeking outside funds and bringing them in. And so when that happens, our organization acts a lot differently than the county. So we bring in short-term projects and personnel, and a lot of times our teachers are already in the CalPERS or CalSTRS system. So that is problematic for these grants. Another part that makes it not ideal to fundraise under the county is that when we're applying for these opportunities, we're using the county tax ID number. And so all the audits and all the financial presentations that we would put forth for a grant, we have to share the county. It doesn't work. We can't address the budget like we normally would. So what the commission has prioritized is letting First 5 be a leader in the community to establish a platform to go after federal funds. So that would be my position. There's no reason to duplicate any of the grant-seeking efforts, like Health and Human Services seeks grants, and they do it as a governmental agency. But there's some grants that we'd like to pursue, both educationally and as community organizations, that take a little bit of a capacity. One thing about First Five is we're mandated to do an evaluation on our programs. We also have to perform an audit. So that puts us in a position in the community as a leader for grant seeking. Our intention here isn't to look at these foundational grants that already exist. I would like to go outside of our funding pool, bring in other funding streams. I believe I can do that. My background's in a rural community very similar to Hollister, and bringing in, $3 or $4 million is really feasible if we can get our organization structured that way. So the things that need to happen to do that, we need to do more assessments as an organization. That's a priority for us. And also, if we could separate from the county and establish ourselves as a nonprofit, we would be more in line with some of these larger funds. I met with you a year or so ago and tried to resolve the fact that we weren't that we were a government entity by bringing an outside organization that had a platform. That didn't work in this community. It's a very, we'd like to keep that. I understood that. It was an opportunity we had to pursue about $10 million, and so to get that, brought in an outside partner. Well, that didn't work for the funders that reviewed our application, and it didn't work for the community. So we went back to the drawing table and got the Packard Foundation involved to explain the situation. And they funded a feasibility study for us. And so we've spent the last 2 years looking at other structures. In Santa Cruz, they're umbrellaed under United Way, a nonprofit there. Monterey and the First Five in Santa Clara, they use a nonprofit to put their employees, and they're the administrator for employees. So I would say about half of the First Fives in the state are independent from the county. Some are independent from an umbrella nonprofit, but there's some, like ours, that are smaller and that don't invest in the infrastructure of administration, HR, county council, all those things. So they go to another organization to contract. And so Packard has funded us another round of grants to continue to look at this issue. And so at this point, we're looking at a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, to possibly form a management agreement with to separate from the county if that is something that we gain your support in. So I think that I've said what, I've been working on this for a couple years, so I don't really, maybe I'd just open it up for any questions that you might have.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board? No?
Well, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor De La Cruz?
Well, I'll let Supervisor Barrios first, because she's been on First Five longer than I have, because I've been on First Five too.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Thank you, Supervisor De La Cruz, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, well said, Lisa. I think that you expressed exactly what the Commission would like to see happen. She has full support of the Commission. The membership of the Commission will not change. There will still be a representative from the county there. There will be community folks. There will be people from Health and Human Services. So it will be well represented by county individuals. So I think that will not change. The focus will remain, and it has remained, very dedicated to improving programs, making everything better for serving families, young children, 0 to 5. So I really highly support the effort that we are moving forward to accomplish. So I would ask for the support of the rest of the board.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor De La Cruz?
I think it's a wonderful idea, and that was one of my concerns about the makeup of the board, and also that the funds are targeted towards 0 to 5. I kind of see where you're trying to go away from the county because of the sheer cost of overhead. You want more of those funds being used for the organization instead of paying any expenses related that the county provides to you. I do have some concerns. I'm not fully on board right now. I would like to take some time and study the ideas and the proposals, and then go from there. I don't have the questions right now, but just a red flag is just popping up, and I want to know what that red flag is. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Probably a question I would have after that particular comment, and listening to both supervisors that have been on that first 5 commission, and understanding that the commission's board is very supportive of this plan and streamlining the, what available revenues and grant applications and so forth, and really funneling all that efforts to, the programs that you're supposed to be doing rather than overhead that maybe is part of the county. Is there something that makes the county's participation right now so essential that is there a con to this plan at all?
So first of all, just to clarify what Supervisor De La Cruz, we've looked at the county cost plan. That's really not our main motivation to cut costs. What it is to increase revenue. So we have I've worked in nonprofits before. Diane Ortiz reminds me of my old position, and what you do there is you make sure that all your revenue is matched. And so to be in an organization that acts very much as a nonprofit, it is a public nonprofit, not a private, to be able to have about $600,000 come into your organization as a starting point is just a gift, because you take that $600,000 and you double that at minimum. So it's that leveraging of the existing revenue that we're looking for. So when we're applying for these grants, and there's usually, we'll use the Promised Neighborhood, because I really would like to apply for that, again, under our own umbrella. So when you pull up the application, it will say governmental entity or non-entity. And I thought that I could pull down that and put it in as a public nonprofit, but as soon as I use the county tax ID, I'm ineligible. And so I also want to say that even though our focus is 0 to 5, it's 0 to 5 in families. So that puts us in the community pool of, we have our education, but we also have a lot of wraparound social services. So there's not a whole lot of grants that First 5 isn't willing to throw me in the mix and help. I mean, if they want me there. So if we have a grant initiative out there, and the county can apply for it, and the school districts can apply for it, we can apply for it. So I want to just be real clear that the reason we're pulling away isn't to save money from the cost plan. It's to leverage that money. So now we've already leveraged most of it, but there's more out there. So all our positions, we've added 7 staff since I've been there, and that's been really tough. That's taken a lot of Barbara Thompson and I's time. Margie sat in on those meetings, because when you pull in those grant programs, there's a job description for those grants. And so that job description doesn't always align with the county job description. And another problem that we have is that the kind of people we're pulling in often are educators. So if they've been paid through the district, they're part of CalSTRS or CalPERS, and we can't hire them. So in a time where I'm hearing jobs getting cuts and revenue streams being, they're declining, this is a way for us to bring jobs in. We've already demonstrated that. We had a small staff, now we have a huge team at First 5. And that's taken hours of Barbara Thompson and I getting together and trying to figure out how we're going to pull them in. So those are the main reasons. It's not to get away from the cost plan.
Okay, Supervisor Rivas has a question.
When I reviewed this item a couple days ago, in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. I think it makes the First 5 a stronger organization. And I think, on a side note, if you can detach yourself from this county or from any local government, then do it, because it's a positive thing. It really is, because government sometimes can hold these organizations back. and I think that this is a no-brainer. I'm ready to move on this. I think that this is something that's going to make the First Five a stronger organization, and it's going to be, and because of that, it's going to make it, it's going to have a huge impact, a positive impact on our community and the people it serves. I mean, it's plain and simple.
Thank you.
Supervisor De La Cruz, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally understand the concept of, taking out that government name, and I think Supervisor Rios said it the way I was thinking. And I think if that's the case and that's the direction you want to go, it seems like I'm willing to support it. However, the funds, because it was a state law that was mandated down to each county will be responsible for creating this type of organizations. Those funds, and I guess this is for Barbara, those funds, Barbara, will still need to be addressed and allocated for the First Five, right, 0 to 5. Those monies that we got through, was it Prop 60? Prop 60?
10.
Prop 10?
I believe that those are dedicated funds that would have to be channeled to them.
Okay. So what insurance does the county have that if the board does support for you to go on a different and not be under the umbrella of the county, what insurance does the county has or the taxpayers have that those dollars out of Prop 10 will be used specifically for 0 to 5 individuals?
So the county right now is our administrative body for our organization. We report to the state. So our audit, we're audited, and our program audit are done directly to the state. So we're a hybrid. We're really a state agency with a county administrative arm that reports to the state. So if we aren't in compliance, so we've got some state grants that we've applied for that we have to answer to the state too. So if we're out of compliance, the state will withhold our funds. The composition of the commission has public health, the supervisors, it's got the resource referral agency, so that composition doesn't change. We will bring another county council. Within First Five, there's a learning circle of attorneys, and so we will introduce a new attorney to that learning circle, and I don't see it changing drastically.
Okay. All right. You convinced me.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, CEO Espinosa.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that this resolution doesn't really bind us, but allows the board, allows support to the board to further due diligence on this. So that's kind of what the take is on this, and we'll come back. We just still need to work out the details. There's some things that we met with about the impacts on PERS and a few other things. So it just gives the concept of moving forward from the approval from the board on that.
Give them all the liabilities. Let them have them.
Mr. Chair, I have just a couple more comments. And I'm sure glad that Supervisor De La Cruz asked that question because, yes, we are under some very strict guidelines and reporting to the state of California, so that's not going to change. So we have somebody that oversees. And I forgot to mention the County Office of Education. They're a big partner and part of the commission, and they play a big part in the decision-making, which is great because that's what this is all about, is educating families and children. So thank you for asking those questions. I think they were very valid and important to be heard.
Okay, at this time, I'll open it up for public comment or questions. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for an action.
I will make a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, before you make your motion, I just want to make sure I understand what Ray said. So we're not cutting ties at this point. We're just looking at the possibility of cutting ties down.
That's correct. It would have to come back to the board for further action. This is just so that they can obtain further funding and to do further due diligence and explore a possible management agreement. So it would have to come back for the board's final approval.
Okay, so if any of us have concerns such as what Supervisor De La Cruz brought up, they can be addressed and... That's correct. Okay,
yes.
Very good. Thank you for that clarification.
Actually, one more question, Mr. Chair, and I'm sorry for this.
Okay,
I noticed that where is it at? The foundation?
The Packard Foundation?
Yes, they're providing the funds to do the analysis, right?
Right. And this one, what they'll do is bring in an independent contractor in to facilitate the discussion with the commission about using a nonprofit, a local nonprofit, Go Kids, actually, that is local here in the community as an administrator to replace the county services. And so right now, Go Kids Financial is doing the accounting, and so now they would take on HR and I know there's more, but the employee end of it, they would hire our employees. So really, we would be legally operating under, we considered going on our own and doing that, building it within, but we're such a small organization that it would be we thought it would be too costly. And so now we're going to bring in the idea of going with a larger nonprofit. Go Kids, I think, has 37 employees. They have several CPAs. They have an HR department. Right now, that would have just been me. And so I'm looking forward to that. They just have a lot of expertise. So that's what our plan is, to replace the county.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Barrios, you were beginning to make a motion.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution supporting First Five San Benito Children and Families Commission's goal of becoming independent from the County of San Benito. 2013-77 is the resolution.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on. Item 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, your board in the past has asked us to look at the general plan more closely, so we're scrutinizing that at every meeting now, and we have Byron Turner, he's our interim planning director, to give you an update of where we're at on the general plan as of our last meeting.
Thank you. I just want a brief update today. I've been working closely with the CAO's office and the County Council's office. We're assembling a team to review the proposals, a team of qualified people. Once the proposals are scored and ranked, then we'll sit down with the first choice and negotiate a contract to bring before the board. So that's the status right now. We hope to be conducting this review in the next 2 weeks, and then I'll have further updates at the next board meeting.
Okay, good. Any other questions from the board? Any questions, comments from public?
Marty Richmond from Hollister. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman. Just to reinforce what I say every time, I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity here. Hopefully when they do the review, they will look to see what the proposal is, or if there's part of the proposal concerning who will be the program manager officially. And then I hope at some time. And although I understand you said, well, you know, there was some discussion last time, I don't remember the exact wording, well, we expect Byron to be the program manager or whatever the wording was. I hope at some time in this project that we give someone both the trophy and the responsibility. We used to call it the barbed wire cluster in the Army, saying you are it. You understand you are the program manager. So there is no question. It could be whoever you hire. It could be someone in planning. It could be a third party that you bring in. It's not for me to say. And you may think this is not for me to say, but I think one of the failures that we have to address, to be very honest with you, why we didn't do better last time, I think is the finger of fate coming down and saying, you are the program manager. Do you understand you are the program manager? And with that comes a responsibility to make sure that everything the board inputs gets put into the system, because we had some failures in that. And the responsibility to make the milestones, to develop the milestone schedule, to meet the milestones that we develop, and to keep track of all the various, and there's 100 things going on, you know, making the famous little Gantt charts or whatever they are to show what it is, and to show what the longest item is and the shortest item is. All those things that program managers do for a living. And therefore, the ball is in their court, or it's on their desk, however you like to say it. So I think that's an important point we should look at in the proposals for people to say, who say, I intend to be the program manager, we will act as a program, or whoever it is, we have to put the finger on eventually. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As always, Byron does good work. He's got a plan, and it looks like he's going to pursue it. Good for you, Byron, there. When you start reviewing this, I hope there's some parts that you, in the existing plan, that you look at real closely. I'll come back to the first sentence in the land use element of the current draft of the general plan. I've cherry-picked it before. I'll read it in its entirety this time. San Benito County has land use regulatory authority over all unincorporated land in the county, which includes everything except land within the city limits of Hollister and San Juan Bautista, or land owned, managed by either the state or federal government. So if the federal government doesn't own or regulate it, then the state government owns or regulates it, or San Benito County regulates it. You may own it and pay taxes on it, but the county's going to regulate it. First time I read that, I said, what arrogance? Arrogance isn't a good word. That's not the proper adjective. Not a one of you, in my opinion, not a one of you have a particularly arrogant. You got your idiosyncrasies like we all do, but arrogance is not one of them. I think a better adjective usually applies to government is tyranny. Whatever happened to personal property rights? What about the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Get out the copy of the Declaration of Independence I gave you and read it. All the transgressions that they've got listed there. Some of them were real onerous. They were bad. Some of them weren't a whole lot worse than this first sentence you've got in your general plan, land use element. Think about that. Tyranny. Taking another slice out of that loaf of liberty. A slice here, a slice there, and pretty soon you're going to be left with two heels. Just with that one sentence. There are others as well. I'm probably getting close to running out of time, and I don't want to start a new topic, so this is to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you. As well it will be. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for any final comments until the next meeting that we have this on the...
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Byron, you said that there were going to be individuals that were going to be looking at the proposals.
Yes.
Will you, after you review everything in detail, will you be interviewing the applicants before you make a decision?
Yes.
So they will be involved in the communication?
Yes.
So, okay, that's my hope. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Byron, we're expecting a lot out of you on this project, and it is a top priority for the board to get this, completed is, reasonable amount of time as efficiently as we possibly can. And you're pretty much the project manager right now and accountable to get this through.
He knows.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item we have also is going to be presented to us by our planning department, our interim director, Byron Turner, and he's going to be discussing with you the CEQA findings as well as adopting the negative deck and accepting an introduction to ordinance amending Chapter 15.05 of Title 15 of the San Benito County Code relating to groundwater aquifer protection. So we have Byron here to discuss that.
Thank you. At the request of the board, staff has modified the groundwater protection ordinance to allow for groundwater extraction and potential export of water outside the subbasin in which the water exists. This ordinance is enforced by the Water District. The Water District will be in charge of issuing the permits for groundwater extraction. There is a member of the Water District here if you have any specific questions about the changes to the ordinance and how they will be enforcing it. At this time, it's the staff's recommendation that you review the initial study, the proposed negative declaration, and the proposed ordinance revisions, that you read the title of the ordinance for the record, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 15.05 Water of Title 15 of the San Benito County Code relating to groundwater aquifer protections. And number 3, make a motion to A, adopt the CEQA findings set forth in Attachment C, B, approve and adopt the negative declaration, and C, accept introduction, waive further reading of the ordinance, and continue this item to November 5th, 2013 at 9 a.m. for adoption.
Okay. Any questions by the board? Any comments from the public?
I do have a question, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
close the public comment and bring it back to the board. A question by Supervisor Barrios.
Yeah, on page 110, and it talks about it being in the same sub-basin. How do you determine whether it's coming out of the same sub-basin? How does the county water district determine that? That just seems a little far-fetched, but I guess there's a way.
We have Dale Rosscamp from the Water District come and
Yes, Madam Supervisor. The Water District monitors the groundwater throughout the northern half of the county and has further defined the basins into sub-basins about 20 years ago. And so we monitor everything. We know how the different sub-basins interact with each other. And so we do have a methodology that we've been following. And we have a geological consultant that has helped us to define those sub-basins.
So there's a way of measuring. Yes. So if there's an excessive amount that is taken out, you would certainly be able to monitor that.
And that would be part of the permit process. If they propose a project, what would that project's sustainable yield be? And if they go over that threshold, or they would be proposing something that would go over that threshold, we could condition the permit to make sure that they don't, and then monitor it accordingly.
And San Benito County Water District will be the enforcing agency to make sure that
Yes, ma'am.
This has all been carried out. There are two areas, the 15.05.003 and the 15.05.004 appear to be a little contradictory because maybe I don't understand the mining of groundwater because that's prohibited. What is the difference between mining and extracting the water?
Mining is where you actually pull it out and take it somewhere else completely off the reservation, so to speak. Extraction is you extract it and move it from one sub-basin to another.
Okay, so let's say somebody wants to extract water to bottle and sell it. That would not qualify. I mean, they're going to sell it to who knows. That does not qualify under mining then? That would come out under...
It all depends geologically. Mining also can connote that it's water that cannot easily be replaced within the aquifer. So if you mine it, it also has the connotation that
it will never be replaced, so...
At least not in a reasonable time frame.
Okay.
You know, if it takes millennia and millennia for that water to get back to that portion of the aquifer,
okay,
then it, in all intents purposes, you know, it's gone forever.
So under extracting, they're able to do it with a permit. They're able to,
right.
If they decide that that's what they want to do,
right.
They can do that under the extracting and not be disqualified, so to speak, because they want to...
Right, they're within the sustainable yield of the aquifer.
That makes sense to me now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I want to thank the Water District for their history of working with the county on this. They, you know, have the data and the studies that support, you know, the permitting, and you know, I think you do an outstanding job. And this has been a problem for quite some time. I've had conversations with the Water District manager that this needed to be cleaned up. It finally is. You know, and you know, there are conflicts at time. In fact, I had a call this past week concerning the area around the Red Barn, a well that's being used to water down for dust control, compaction needs for that, you know, the Highway 101 construction. And the Red Barn is concerned about, you know, their well and their water supply and the amount of water that's being utilized by a neighboring property. And you know, it's a permitted use, and but you know, water is something that we all will continue to fight over. And this helps clarify an ordinance that is being enforced by the Water District, and I want to thank the Water District for working on this.
You're welcome.
Just for the board's clarification, at the last minute, the CEQA findings were set forth in Exhibit 2 instead of Attachment C. So if the board can find the recommendation that's set forth on page 107, that's the correct recommended action. The CEQA findings didn't change. We just switched them from Attachment C to Exhibit 2 so that they're closer to the front of the packet.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, we could have a motion.
I'll take a stab at it. I move that we read by title, we read the title of ordinance for the record. Is that where I'm, wait a minute. Is that where
I
I'm
believe
gonna
that
start?
Byron already did that, so that's okay. You can just start with item number 3.
Oh, okay. Then we make a motion to adopt the CEQA findings set forth in Exhibit 2, approve and adopt the negative declaration, and accept introduction, waive further reading of the ordinance, and continue this item to November 5th, 2013 at 9 a.m. for adoption.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Oppose? Hearing none. Thank you. We'll move on to the last item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, our last item, item number 13 on our agenda, is going to be presented to us by Steve Wittry, our Public Works Director, and he's going to be discussing with us the Creekside 5 subdivision. So, Steve?
Thank you, Ray. Start over again. The approval of the final map is kind of the last step for the process for selling the lots and development process for Creekside 5 or any subdivision for that matter. The reason why we brought this item onto the regular agenda as opposed to consent, because it has gone through a number of approvals already. It is on the regular agenda, so because we wanted to make you aware of some things that may be a little bit off the norm. As you may recall, this was a particular subdivision that we talked about that was required to have an HOA per the Planning Commission's recommendation. The applicant came and we changed that requirement to allow them to form a CSA as opposed to an HOA for future maintenance. Because of the length of time that it's taking to actually complete the aspect of forming the CSA, what we'd like to do is bring this map for the board for approval. We are still in the CSA process, and we still intend on moving forward with that process to create the CSA. However, to make sure that the county's interests are protected, we've also included with this particular approval a road maintenance agreement. And what that agreement is to protect the county in case something happens, although it's 99.9% chance that it will go through the CSA process without a hitch. This is a document that we're asking the board to approve that will protect the county in case something happens in that process, since it is a process that happens through another entity, not the control of the board of supervisors. The road maintenance agreements will protect the county from any costs associated with road maintenance or facilities maintenance, and it will put that onto the property owners. Like I said, it's just kind of a fail-safe system because the applicant has requested us to move the process forward so they can obtain funding for the property out there and help expedite the process. We're in agreement with that process. We work with County Counsel's office and the applicants here if he has any questions regarding that aspect of it. It's really just a way to try to streamline our process. We got out of the CSA business and we're kind of back in the CSA business with this little one here, and we're kind of in a little bit of a holding pattern, if you will, in terms of how we process it. So it has been delayed longer than it normally would be, and that's why we're here before you today with this road maintenance agreement attached to the final map. So if there's any questions with that, we'd be glad to
Any
answer.
questions by the board?
I have a couple, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Barrios?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then, basically what we're doing is approving the final map, but not finalizing the building permits until this has been addressed. Is that correct? Is that the understanding? Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes.
Okay, now, you talked about not requiring an HOA, but on page 198, as part of the resolution, we do speak of an HOA, and I want to make sure that that is clear, that we're not expecting an HOA. And that would be on page 198. It says, where's a condition, join an existing homeowners association. Should that be rewritten to say, join an existing or create an existing CSA? because I don't believe that homeowners association is one of the requirements that we have.
Essentially,
Page 198. It would
second
be,
paragraph down.
let's see.
No, that was whereas as the condition of approval that was already part of the conditions of approval. Developer was required to form or join an existing homeowners association. And then the next one says that the board of supervisors finds that the formation of a county service.
Okay, so the second comment, the second whereas then pretty much wipes out the.
What had happened and then how we're.
Okay, so we're not expecting an HOA. And the agent, it doesn't really, you know, they show the county as the county and the developer, but it talks a lot about an agent, and I don't know that it's really clear who the agent is. Sometimes it's in small letters, you know, not capitalized, and other times it's capitalized. Is the agent the owner of the property? Or the developer, or is the agent the individual owners of the lots?
It starts out as the owner of the developer, and then after all the properties are sold, then it's going to 40 different entities.
Okay, so is that clear enough in here? Because it wasn't clear to me who the agent really was, and I just want to make sure that that legally it is clear to everybody who the agent is.
Yes, I think it's clear enough, because on paragraph 8 it says that the developer is initially the agent. I know that there's some issues with capitalization. And then the parties further agree that the agent may be replaced at any time that the employee is allowed.
Okay, so then the agent starts out as the developer, but as the lots are sold, then the agent can be replaced based on the direction of those lot owners.
They can either have one of the parties do it, or they can contract out with a professional firm that.
Okay. All right, very good, thank you. As long as that's clear and it's well understood, I'm okay with it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If not, anybody from the public would like to comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for an action.
I will make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve as per staff recommendation.
Second.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Hearing none. We'll move on to the closed session. And I understand item 16 is canceled. I requested that and is not having a need for that at this point in time.
Public comment on number 14, please.
And we have a public comment on number 14. Do we report closed items and then take the public comment?
Yes, you can do that.
Why don't we go ahead and do that, and then I'll take your public comment after we have the report.
Let's take the public comments before.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, that's probably the right order then. That's why we have counsel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Marty Richmond again from Hollister, and I'd like to make a public comment concerning the negotiations and some of the comments that were made this morning. It's very difficult for me to sit back and bite my tongue when the council, I disagree often with the Board of Supervisors. I'm never shy about saying so. But it's difficult for me to hear people say, well, you intend to balance the budget over the backs of certain employees. I didn't hear anyone this morning, this is my personal view, put forward any idea for solving the issue, the problem. I'd like to point out, and I know the members of SEIU know this, and I'm not their enemy. They may have me on their enemies list. I'm sure I'm there somewhere near the top. But I want to point out the following. They made choices. We all make choices in life. And they made choices, many of them, to take jobs where much of the compensation comes in after the fact. I made that same choice when I joined the military. You know, you work for very little and you get a decent retirement at some time. That's my choice. Those are the choices they made. This employment will cost this county $41 million a year, according to the upcoming budget. Much of that $41 million, the employees will never see. They will never see the money that goes to workman's comp to cover them in case they get injured. They will never see, they will not see in their paycheck the amount that the county contributes to their PERS retirement. They won't see that until they retire. They can't pay their mortgage with it. I understand that. They chose to take lifetime health care, and that's put an enormous burden, including almost $23 or $24 million worth of money that the county owes in arrears on that. It's amazing, amazing amount of money. And they will not see that until they retire. And they will see many of their benefits they will not see. And many of their benefits they cannot pay their mortgage with, and they cannot pay their gas bill with. I think any adult understands that. So if you pay $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000 on behalf of an employee for health care coverage, which they get tax-free, they don't have to pay tax on that as if it were income, they can't pay their mortgage with that money. I understand that. I couldn't pay my mortgage with a lot of the benefits I got from spending 23 years in the military. And I will wrap up by just saying, those are the choices we all make in life. You can't eat your cake and have it too. I've eaten my cake and it's gone to my waistline. Unfortunately, I cannot have that cake too. So those are the difficult choices that the SEIU has to make, and every employee has to make, and every person has to make with their own budget. And I'm not in on negotiations, and thank you for letting me extend my time. I'll wrap up now by saying, I hope the SEIU just not going to use this propaganda kind of attacks about balancing the budgets on the backs of the employees. How about the backs of the taxpayers who are paying for all this? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. County Council, would you like to
Yes.
report?
Item number 14 is conference with labor negotiators. The agency designated representatives are Barbara Thompson, Danya Torres Wong, Allison Hayek, Ray Espinoza, Joe Paul Gonzalez, Melinda Casillas, Georgia Cochran, and Mark Gregerson. The employee organization is Management Employees Group, Institutions Association, SEIU Local 521, SEU United Long-Term Care Workers Local 6434, and Law Enforcement Management. The authority is Government Code 54957.6. Item 15 is conference with real property negotiator regarding property at San Benito High School, APN 020-170-043, 059-020-001, and 059-020-003 off of Nash Road in Hollister, California. The agency negotiators are Steve Wittry, Adam Goldstone, Ray Espinoza, Barbara Thompson, and Shirley Murphy, Deputy County Counsel. The negotiating parties are Michael Rubicelli on behalf of the San Benito High School District. Under negotiation are the price and terms of payment. Authority is California Government Code 54956.8.
Okay, thank you. Adjourn to closed session.
Oh, okay. A year behind. Okay. Oh, he did.
We don't want it in that type of country, you know.